Syrian government forces have withdrawn from the city of Aleppo following an offensive by rebels opposed to the rule of President Bashar al-Assad. The army acknowledged that rebels had entered large parts of the city, the country's second largest, but vowed to stage a counterattack. The offensive marks the most significant fighting in Syria's civil war in recent years. More than 300 people, including at least 20 civilians, have been killed since it began on Wednesday, according to the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, SLHR. Speaking on Saturday, President Assad vowed to defend Syria's stability and territorial integrity in the face of all terrorists and their backers. His office quoted him as saying, "The country is capable, with the help of its allies and friends, of defeating and eliminating them, no matter how intense their terrorist attacks are." The civil war, which has left around 500,000 people dead, began in 2011 after the Assad government responded to pro-democracy protests with a brutal crackdown. The conflict had been largely dormant since a ceasefire agreed in 2020, but opposition forces have maintained control of the northwestern city of Idlib and much of the surrounding province. Idlib sits just 55 kilometers, 34 miles, from Aleppo, which itself was a rebel stronghold until it fell to government forces in 2016. The latest offensive has been led by an Islamist militant group known as Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, and allied factions backed by Turkey. HTS is regarded as one of the most effective and deadly groups fighting the Assad government and was already the dominant force in Idlib. The rebels have taken control of Aleppo's airport and dozens of nearby towns, according to the SOHR. They also announced an overnight curfew, which came into effect at 1700 hours local time, 1400 hours Greenwich Mean Time. The SOHR also reported that rebel fighters had pushed into several towns in the countryside near Syria's fourth-largest city, Hama, to the south of Aleppo, and that the Syrian army had withdrawn. However, a military source quoted in Syrian state media disputed this claim. The Syrian army said rebels had launched a broad attack from multiple axes on the Aleppo and Idlib fronts, and that battles had taken place over a strip exceeding 100 kilometers, 60 miles. Dozens of its soldiers have been killed, it said. The Russian Air Force, which played a significant role in helping Assad remain in power during the peak of the civil war, carried out airstrikes in Aleppo on Saturday. These strikes marked the first time Russia had staged airstrikes in the city since assisting Syrian government forces in recapturing it in 2016. Later on Saturday, 9 other Russian strikes were carried out on Idlib, according to SOHR. A U.S. spokesperson said Syria's reliance on Russia and Iran, along with its refusal to move forward with the 2015 UN Security Council peace plan, had created the conditions now unfolding in the country. Pictures showed the roads leading out of Aleppo jammed with cars on Saturday as people tried to leave, with smoke rising from the city's skyline.